All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, Magic Johnson is a dangerous person, man. He is a dangerous person. Why do I say that? Because he is a master salesman. He really is. I can see why Paul George said to himself, I better just re-sign this contract extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder, because if I sit down with this dude, there is no doubt that I'm going to end up on the Lakers, and I'm going to end up miserable playing alongside LeBron James, because they're going to blame me for everything. And it's going to be Magic Johnson's fault for being able to seduce me. This dude, Magic Johnson, is one of the most charismatic people I've ever seen. I mean, I could see why they named him Magic. And is he a master warlock in Hollywood? No doubt about it. And I'm sure that is one of the topics in which he and LeBron were copacetic. That's one of the levels in which they bonded. Magic is a great salesman. And one of the core tenets of being a salesman is that sometimes you have to be disingenuous. Magic gets on TV and he'll try to make you think that everybody who ever played basketball was better than him because he's so generous and he's so giving and blah, blah, blah. Magic Johnson thinks that he's the greatest basketball player ever, and he should. He should. Because he was better than LeBron James. At his peak, Magic Johnson was better than LeBron James. Okay? Better than Kobe, better than a lot of guys. And I have him number 4 on my list after Michael, Kareem, and Bill Russell. Magic Johnson was extremely impactful. But anyway, he sat down to discuss the LeBron James acquisition and how powerful a reverberation that would be for the LA Lakers. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Ooh, our next guest, you all know him. He needs no introduction. Magic Johnson in the building. So good to talk to you, my friend.
You too, Molly. You know, I don't know about these other two jokers, but you, I'm good.
I'm sure you are, Magic Johnson. Look at mine like, Gary, you have no idea. 30 years ago, I would have taken it to your hole and slam dunked it. You better believe it. No assists involved.
Magic, let me just say this. We're in the middle of the NFL season, right? Baseball playoffs, your Dodgers doing their thing. And there is so much excitement about regular season game 1 in the NBA, this NBA season in general. A lot of it has to do with, of course, your Lakers, LeBron, high hopes. Showtime back?
I think it's back. It's back in LA, but also back around the league.
Yes.
I agree. The NBA right now is a run and gun league. I just saw that Utah Golden State game the other night. Wow. Like, whew. I remember when I was a kid, the NBA, they had a marketing scheme where the commercials would always end in, the NBA is fantastic. Right now, the way that they're playing basketball, especially many of the elite teams, very high entertainment value. And of course, I made this statement a while ago, and many of the brothers that watch 90s basketball, they got upset with me. I'm sorry, but that basketball in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was not a good product. You can get upset with that all you want. Michael Jordan kept the league afloat in the late 90s because the product was not that good. Too much hero ball, too much physicality, and it hurt the league early on. That's why David Stern asked Michael Jordan to come back and play with the Washington Wizards in exchange for becoming eventual owner of that team so that he could have time to build up the league's young stars. And once again, that is why the Phoenix Suns under Mike D'Antoni, they were so integral to the league because they brought back a lot of that run and gun fast break style that has influenced the overall style of play that we see in the NBA today.
Yes.
I love, watching the Celtics and 76ers the other night was outstanding. And then
Yeah, that was a great game. It ended up being a blowout, but the overall talent that was on display in that game was awesome.
What Golden State has been able to build, and you got to give them a lot of credit. And then, here's some young teams like ourselves in Denver. I mean, on and on. Toronto, what's going to happen there? So it's a lot of...
Denver is a wild card this year. Watch out for them, especially if they make it to the playoffs.
A lot of storylines here. And then even New Orleans, we see them going to Houston last night and crush them. And so
New Orleans is going to be a major problem, barring injury.
There's so many great storylines, and that's why the NBA is so exciting, because they have superstars who the world knows.
I'm going to get a bit personal here in this respect. I remember when the NBA was on tape delay. And then Magic and Bird came and just took it, and of course MJ just took it to another level.
Right.
And,
Well, MJ took it global.
and the NBA has been soaring ever since. But we all know in our heart of hearts that the game of basketball is better when the Lakers are relevant. And obviously the Lakers were in a certain situation until Magic Johnson arrived. Have you ever sat back and rather than just look at the Lakers, looked at yourself in terms of how much you have meant to the NBA, particularly since you've gotten LeBron? Because now that you've gotten LeBron, the eye of the basketball world is descending upon LA yet again, and you're right in the middle of it.
Well,
Absolutely. But that also provides, on the flip side, a far higher level of scrutiny from Mr. Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka. Because if the LeBron James experiment does not work in 3 years, he most likely will step down. The NBA needs LeBron James to win at least one championship. That's why I stated that over the course of these next 4 years, the NBA is going to work in concert with Magic Johnson to make sure that they can put LeBron in the position to seriously challenge for at least one more championship by however means they decide to do so. Could it be that they instigate or stipulate a trade of Mr. Anthony Davis to the Lakers? We'll see. But they are going to put the Lakers in the position to seriously challenge Golden State or whoever the preeminent team is in the Western Conference in another year or two for that title of being the best team in the Western Conference, to give LeBron a chance to win a championship, because it is show business. The NBA is entertainment. And they know that LeBron, he plays that perfect Goliath figure. He's the perfect Goliath for the modern day NBA. That's why I always liken him unto Shaq and Wilt Chamberlain, not in style of play, but in overall basketball archetype in regards to what he represents. He represents that Goliath type who's just bigger and stronger than everybody, even though that's not literal. It seems as though LeBron James is just bigger and stronger than everybody, even the centers. Like LeBron be looking bigger than DeMarcus Cousins and Joel Embiid and those guys. So that's what he embodies. And then you mix him with the entertainment aspect of being on the Lakers. That's perfect for the NBA. They don't need LeBron to win a championship. They just need him to be in a real position where he can seriously challenge for one. As of right now, he can't even seriously challenge for one.
Well, Stephen A., I've just been blessed, number one. Number two, I got a great boss in Jeannie Buss, right? And she has allowed me, with Rob Pelinka, to, really come up with a plan and a strategy to get the Lakers back to being relevant, but also back in the playoffs and hopefully winning championships again.
Let me say this also. I like the Lakers' plan in regards to their approach to the Warriors and the Rockets and those type of teams. I've been saying this for the longest time. You don't try to outshoot the Warriors. That's like trying to outspeed Muhammad Ali. You have to make it rough. You have to make it rugged. Now, in today's NBA, there are going to be limits to how rugged you're allowed to make it, at least in the regular season. But in the postseason, they are going to let you get a little bit dirtier. They're going to let you get a little bit more physical. And that's what Magic is banking on, especially if they can get one more superstar.
Again. But you need a cornerstone. You need a superstar. And we end up getting the greatest player in the world in LeBron James to come. But also, too,
not for much longer, though. I have LeBron number one on my list, but he's not going to be the best for much longer. Because I saw that New Orleans game against the Houston Rockets. Anthony Davis is coming, boy. Whew.
Two, we had young pieces that were attractive because we hit what I feel was a home run in our first draft. And so Lonzo Ball, I think he's going to be outstanding this season. LeBron has helped his mindset, and Rondo has helped him out a lot. And then I think Kyle Kuzma had a great rookie season, and I think he's going to step up and have even a better season this season. And then
it's going to be very interesting to see what Kyle Kuzma becomes, because the prognostications are that he's going to become some 24, 25 point per game guy. I'm not quite sure about that. He has the mindset to be that. But having the mindset to do that and actually doing that are two different things. He might just be a career, bring a spark off your bench type guy. Average 16, 17 a game. We'll see.
And then I think Josh Hart, people don't understand the toughness, the grittiness. Oh,
he can play. He can shoot. He can play.
The Lakers have drafted very well, though. When you look at Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, all coming through the draft. They've done a great job.
He can shoot, but also he's a winner. Villanova.
Jay Wright raves about him all the time. They rave about him for years.
So we have the right combination of young guys with KCP, but I think the star in the making, and LeBron is really going to help him, is Brandon Ingram. He's big time, and
he's either the star in the making for your team or the possible star in the making for the New Orleans Pelicans. Should he be a part of a package for Anthony Davis?
And he has the length, he has the size, he has the basketball IQ. So we are really happy. JaVale McGee closes down the middle. We didn't have a shot blocker.
He did a great job shot blocking against the Portland Trail Blazers. JaVale McGee looked very good.
So we're excited, and you can see by there's no tickets. Everybody's trying to get in here. Cedric he wasn't lying either. He can't get in no more, right? Because it's really going to be outstanding. Starting tonight in Portland, and then the first home game against Houston on Saturday.
Magic, there's some people who can take over the world, but they just really want to be the king of the block they grew up on. Now, you're not from LA, but you are LA. And I think about your career as a player, like Jerry West as a player, one of the greatest who ever did it. But then as an executive, he's at least as well known for that because of all his success. And now I think about you, and it's one thing to be one of the greatest players of all time, and the business stuff and all that, but to LA, to bring the Dodgers back to where they are now, perennially, they're among the World Series favorites, year in and year out. You were a big part of that. And now the Lakers. Magic shows up, and abracadabra, the Lakers, like Magic, the Lakers are relevant again. What does it mean to you? Forget about the league and the world and the NBA. To do what you have done now and to be where you are to Los Angeles.
Well,
Before Magic speaks, let me say this. Max Kellerman makes a very good point, and it seems as though Magic has finally found what his purpose is post-retirement as an NBA player. He spent a lot of time trying to maintain fame and relevance in a myriad of ways. He tried to do the broadcaster thing. He was not good at that. Magic Johnson is just way too mush-mouthed to be a good broadcaster. There's nothing against the brother whatsoever. But I remember when he first retired from the Lakers in '91, he immediately was put in as a third broadcaster alongside Marv Albert and Mike Fratello in the finals in both 1992 and '93. And the brother just did not do a good enough job. We've seen him be on and off various panels to talk sports, whether it was on ESPN or even on TNT. People forget. At one time, they tried to fit Magic Johnson onto the NBA talk panel with Ernie Johnson and Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley. He did not fit in well there. They had to remove him, or he removed himself, whatever the storyline was, and they brought in Shaq. It seems as though as an executive, he's finally found that place where he belongs, because now he gets to be an ambassador for the Lakers, which he's always wanted to be. Rob Pelinka handles the minutia, and Magic just acts as the intermediary between Rob Pelinka and the media, which is what he does best.
It means a great deal, Again, when you think about this city and us, you had Kareem the other day, and to play with the captain, to win 5 championships with him, and never knowing, I always wanted to be a businessman, right? That was my first goal. And so I jumped into the business world. I was put in a great position, worked with some great people, and then to be a guy who loves LA, right? Who embodies what LA is all about. And now I do LA. I don't let LA overtake me now. Mm-hmm. This is
at least not anymore. Not anymore. It was different 30 years ago when you were having those pansexual orgies, right? Allegedly.
This is my city, but trust me, I just want to be successful, and I want to give everything to the fans. So the Dodgers are good, and that's all about the fans here.
Magic.
And I wanted to work for the Lakers and bring them back, and it's all about the fans again.
Real quick, because we have to get a break in, but I just have to piggyback on that, because so many players looked up to you as the model for being the business mogul, like you say. But one thing I admire about you so much, you're always calm, collected, and always in a good mood. Like, how do you manage all that?
Well, first it starts at home. Mama with Cookie. And the home is good, then I'm good, right? And then my kids. And then, I just...
Your kids. Brother, do you really want to mention that as a sign of functionality, your kids? I'm going to leave that alone for now.
Listen, I understand situations. I've been in pressure moments my whole life. We won a state championship in high school. I've been NCAA championship in college. So I've been through pressure moments, and so I don't really, under pressure, I don't buckle.
Yep.
I just make.
Well, you buckled in 1984 against the Celtics. I mean, not to quibble with you, but you basically cost the Lakers that series in 1984. You blew about 3 different games. You blew it in Game 2, you blew it in Game 4, you blew it down the stretch of Game 7. But you know what matters is that you came back from that a better and stronger player.
What I do is build strategy, and I stick to it. I'm disciplined.
All right.
You see the
That's
shade that
a
Molly
pretty
just
thing.
threw?
We're
You see the shade
no.
Molly just threw? She's like, how are you always in a good mood, parenthetically, because I have to work with these two.
That is not what I meant at all.
That's what she
Let's take a quick break. More with Magic. First take from LA. Don't
What's
go
the secret,
anywhere.
Magic?
Magic back here with us, Stephen A.
Now, I got something. Listen. Love you, appreciate you as always. You know that I got some stuff on my mind. I got some stuff I got to ask. Okay, I got a few basketball questions.
Once again, and I mentioned this in another video, they oftentimes will very slyly inject imagery to attack your subconscious or to let you know what many of these environments and these backdrops are actually about, what Hollywood is actually about. Notice that the guest chair where Magic Johnson is sitting is configured so that his head is right in the midst of a pyramid that has a capstone that is radiating. Now, that third photo is actually meant to depict some type of amusement park, and that's a merry-go-round. But the way that photo has been changed or altered, it makes it look as if it's actually a pyramid with a capstone that's radiating. So they're just showing you once again that Magic Johnson is illuminated, or that he's enlightened, or that he's overcome by the quote-unquote serpent energy.
Go ahead.
Number 1, you got LeBron.
Right.
I assume the job is not finished. What?
You assume? We already know the job is not finished. They have to acquire another superstar level player, whether it's KD, AD, or Kawhi. One of those 3 players has to join LeBron James. And to be quite frank with you, it actually makes more sense for them to trade for Anthony Davis than even to sign a Kevin Durant or a Kawhi Leonard in the offseason, because they're going to have a glut of players at that wing position, whether it's the 3 or the 2, where Kawhi is going to vacillate, because Kawhi can do both. But it actually makes more sense for them to trade for Anthony Davis, because he actually fits in my view. He fits in better with LeBron James than those other 2 players do.
Will define success for you this year with LeBron and the crew you have?
Well, I think first just, having a great regular season and making the playoffs. And then, Rob and I actually built this team really for the playoffs. This is a playoff team. And I think that
I agree with that. That team is definitely built for the playoffs. When you have a Rajon Rondo, you have a Lance Stevenson, those type of players, they're built for the playoffs. Lance Stevenson's probably not going to get that much time in the regular season. They're going to save him for the playoffs because they want him to be the guy to harass whoever they play. If they're playing the Rockets, they want him to harass James Harden. If they're playing the OKC Thunder, they're going to need him to harass Paul George and or Russell Westbrook. And of course, with Golden State, they're going to want him to harass Kevin Durant. So they're probably going to hold him off and let a lot of the young guys get more minutes in the regular season. In the postseason, you're going to see a lot more Lance, a lot of Rajon Rondo, maybe even some Michael Beasley, some guys who can get some buckets, but who are also expendable. You can play them for 15, 20 minutes. They could use all their fouls.
when we get to the playoff, I really feel we're going to be tough to beat.
I agree.
You say getting to the playoffs is enough. Now, see, to me, I got y'all going to the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that, but I have them going out in the second round.
I think Houston obviously is going to take a step back. And I think LeBron can beat anybody else other than Golden State. But Max has been focused on Lonzo. To me, I'm paying attention to the Lance Stevenson, Rondo, Brandon Ingram. Those guys around LeBron, because I'm thinking, okay, what do they need to do? So who's the one player you would say, since you don't have that secondary star per se yet that's official,
right,
who's the one player that you would say is most important to elevate in this franchise? Because we know what LeBron's going to do.
Right.
Who's that second person?
It's got
to be Brandon Ingram. I mean, who else would it be? Brandon Ingram is the only other player on the team who can do a multitude of things anywhere near what one would approximate as well. Brandon Ingram, he handles the ball well, he defends well, he shoots relatively well, he goes to the basket very well, shoots free throws well, he can pass well. So he has to be considered that other guy, at least as of right now.
Got to be Brandon Ingram, because every year he's taken a step forward, right? He's gotten better and better. And
now he just needs to get off that crack rock diet and actually start eating something so that his physique actually fills out. I mean, that dude, he could walk into a room with the door closed. I mean, shit.
He has the game to score 20 points a night. And we've seen signs of that. So if Brandon can take the step that we all feel he can take, I think that that would make us a dangerous team.
Well, Magic, that's why I feel Lonzo is key, because we see where Brandon Ingram's trending, right? Kuzma, he never got any better. Kuzma's a nice player already. Right. LeBron, we know Rondo in the playoffs. Lonzo, to me, if you think about him like a star player, this Lakers team is impossible.
Right, but the thing about Lonzo, Mr. Max Kellerman, is that what Lonzo brings to the team, they already have in abundance. They already have distributors in abundance. They have relatively good defenders in abundance. So for Lonzo to really shine, it would have to be market his improvement. Really what he needs to be able to do is make wide open 3-point shots, because for the most part, that's what he's going to be doing. Until they really understand what their rotations are going to be, we already know they're talking about pulling down LeBron's minutes. That's bullshit. LeBron's going to be playing his normal 37, 38 minutes, especially by the end of the season. So what Lonzo's going to have to concentrate on is making sure that his 15 to 20 minutes a game are going to count. And hopefully by the end of the season, he can push it to where he's playing 25, maybe even 30 minutes a game if he's impactful on the floor. And maybe in close games, he can be out there with Rajon and with LeBron and a couple of other players. Probably Brandon Ingram and whoever else is the most impactful. Maybe JaVale McGee, who knows?
But if you think about Lonzo as just a kind of replacement level NBA player, that makes the whole perception of the team different. Right. What is, other than the shot, which he's got to fix, what else does Lonzo have to do to become the guy that the Lakers need him to be for you guys to be this juggernaut?
He's going to have to become much more authoritative and much more aggressive. He's going to have to bring out whatever aspect of a leader that he has. I'm not going to say alpha, because I just don't see him as an alpha type personality. But he's going to have to bring out whatever components of leadership that he has, because if they expect him to be their point guard for the next how many years, allegedly, even though I think that they're going to package him in a trade, or at least try to. But if he intends on being a real point guard in the NBA over the next 12 or 13 years, he's going to have to let that aspect of his personality come out.
Well, he has to learn how to attack the paint and get his floaters and then take it all the way to the rim. He loves to pass first, and that's fine. We want him to stay with that. But a lot of times now the defense is saying, baiting him now. Go ahead and drive the lane. We know you're going to kick it out. So they don't really play him. So he's got to take it all the way. He's got to be able to score. And once he's able to score, he can do everything else. He plays defense. He's one of the best.
Very underrated defender, Lonzo Ball. He was a good defender last year.
Best rebounding guards in the league. And he knows how to get his teammates great shots. So we want him to keep the pace going, because we want to run, and run.
You mentioned something, speaking of run.
It's very interesting that is their tactic. And there's no doubt that Magic is being sincere about that, because in their first game, the Lakers had a pace that LeBron James has never played at before in his career. So it's going to be interesting to see if LeBron is able to maintain his normal level of play throughout the season playing that fast. Or if he speaks to Luke Walton and asks him to slow down the pace a little bit. That's why I say with them trying to play at this Showtime Laker, Golden State Warrior level, is that going to wear down LeBron, who's normally accustomed? I mean, he'll run if he feels like he has a rim run. For the most part, LeBron only likes to run if he's the one who's going to be able to finish at the bucket. But overall, with that team running as much as it will, that's going to force LeBron's hand in some way. Either he's going to have his minutes diminish, or he's going to speak to Luke Walton at some point in the season and ask him to slow down the pace a little bit.
Run. The fans. When I said what you did with the Dodgers, the Lakers, you said it's about giving it to the fans. And the late, great Dr. Jerry Buss, greatest owner in the history of American team sports, hands down, somehow he was the one guy who said, I'm going to make Showtime But usually when people do that, take their eyes off the prize, they don't win.
Right.
He did both. You are essentially trying to do both here. How do you do that? On the one hand, give them showtime, and on the other hand, not let anything interfere with winning.
Because it's still staying disciplined, being smart with your decisions, and we have enough room. We're focused on this season. We feel we're going to have a really good season. And then we know next season we'll have cap space for another player. So we'll concentrate only on this season, and then we'll wait and see what happens and what type of player we need to bring in.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to do that. Don't do it.
Yeah, please don't do it, Stephen A. Smith, because you know how Magic is. Magic is that dude. You sit him down to interrogate him. You don't even have to give him sodium pentothal. You just ask him a basic question. Magic going to tell you the absolute truth. He going to tell you every damn thing. I'm sorry. Yeah, my mother hid the money under her mattress. It's $5,000 there. You'll find it. She normally go to church on Sunday morning. She'll be out the house from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Don't tell her I said nothing now.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. I got you. But let me ask you this question, okay? You watch basketball, and I know you were watching those Western Conference Finals last year, and you saw it go 7 games, and you saw that Houston team push Golden State to...
Right, but he saw that Houston team with Chris Paul and James Harden be able to push a Golden State team that seemed to be a little bit weary in regards to those long championship runs. And they were also fortunate enough to have Andre Iguodala go down with an injury after Game 3, which really turned that series, and nobody talks about that. Once again, that series last year between the Golden State Warriors and the Rockets is a little bit of fool's gold. Just a little bit. I'm not saying that the Rockets were nowhere near as good as the Warriors. They were very physical. It was close, but to me the Warriors were discernibly better than the Rockets. It wasn't like it was indistinguishable who was better.
To the brink. CP3 doesn't go out at the end of Game 5. You got some people up here thinking Houston would have won, while I still had Golden State winning in 7. My question to you: did you see any level of vulnerabilities in the 2-time reigning champions that you're confident with a tweak here or there the Lakers could potentially exploit?
Well, the vulnerability that the Golden State Warriors have really cannot be exploited too much in this era, especially in the aftermath of them acquiring DeMarcus Cousins. Back in the 90s, teams would have just got very physical with them and would have made them make their jump shots and or make their free throws. Be very, very physical with them, try to pound them. That's why I would have loved to have seen this Warriors team compete against the 2001 Lakers, because that team was extremely physical, great defense, and of course you had that mountain in the middle by the name of Shaquille O'Neal. You also had the great Kobe Bryant. So it would have been very interesting to see how this Golden State Warriors team would have fared against those Lakers.
Well, we had to build our team to go up against the champions. Every team is trying to beat Golden State. First of all, they're one of the greatest teams that's ever played basketball. And when you have the firepower of a Steph Curry, Clay, and of course Kevin Durant, who's probably the most unstoppable player we have in the league, and then Draymond Green, to me, is the glue, right? Because he's an all-around superstar to me. You have to build a team to go up against them. So what we tried to do was say, hey, all right, we need guys who can break the defense down, who can get it and go on their own. Everybody's complaining about shooters this, shooters that. Well, I saw teams with shooters, and all of them got beat last year, right, in the playoffs. Well, because
I'll tell you this though, Magic, and as I've already stated, I like their approach to try to be physical with the Warriors and not try to out-warrior the Warriors, but you are going to need at least 1 or 2 shooters. You guys have no shooters right now, none. You're going to need at least 1 or 2 pure shooters.
Because we saw the Celtics beat a team that.
So once again, watch out for the Lakers to make a major run at Klay Thompson. That might be their overall plan, is to try to get Klay Thompson, because he would fit in perfectly with them. That's why I agree with Stephen A. Smith when he says that, because Klay is going to play great defense, and he's going to bring them the shooting that they need.
Team that has shooters, right? And so what we want is playmakers, guys who can get their own shot and also get out and run.
We're running out of time, but I'd be remiss and neglected to bring up this question. You might have missed the show yesterday, although I doubt it.
I was watching the show.
This man, now listen, we all know the The original version of Showtime is what it is.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Don't leave the witness. Don't leave the witness.
I got this is basketball people, Mr. Byron. Listen, we got the Magic Man before Byron Scott. There was Norm Nixon. We had Cooper.
Right.
We know the crew, Worthy, and everybody. We know that. So the original Showtime. He says this version is the second version of Showtime. He's dismissing Kobe and Shaq as a version of Showtime. And I'm saying, excuse me,
No,
nobody
they were great,
Yeah,
but that
I
wasn't
just finished
Showtime.
saying, I just
Different
finished
style
saying that. I
basketball,
just
yeah.
finished saying that. And so
What are you getting nervous about?
My point is, so
Let the man answer.
stop interrupting. The point
Longest
is,
question ever.
this is the third version, is all I'm trying to say.
No, it's not really the third version because even the Kobe Shaq Lakers, they were never known as Showtime. I believe their nickname was the Late Show, if I remember correctly, or the Lake Show. They never wanted to take on that moniker of Showtime because they knew that's not what they did. They were not a run and gun team. And that era was not run and gun. So it would have made no sense to call them Showtime, even though they were probably the most entertaining team of that era. I mean, when I think of the teams that were fun to watch in that era, and there were very few around 2000, 2001, but it was them, the Sacramento Kings with Chris Webber and Peja Stojakovic and Mike Bibby. And you also had the Dallas Mavericks, who wanted to come up with Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki and Michael Finley. Those were pretty much the top offensive teams, or at least, especially the Mavericks and the Kings. But the Lakers, of course, they had all that star power, but they were never Showtime, no.
Not the second.
That's a question or a statement?
Well, it's definitely the third version, but I tell you what, it's going to be a version, though. Oh, man.
Now,
when we run, it's beautiful to watch.
that's what I'm
this team.
talking about. I'm not. Kobe and Shaq was a show, no doubt.
Yeah.
But watching Shaq shoot free throws is not the same thing as watching you and James Worthy in the open court, right?
Watching Shaq shoot free throws and watching Kobe just take over the ball and take all type of wild shots.
In the open floor. That was Showtime. It was out on the fast break,
Right.
unselfish basketball, passing. My point is, when the best player on the team, Magic Johnson, LeBron James, is thinking about passing first,
Right.
it's different. So that this is the first time we've really had that style in town, maybe at a championship level, since
Ain't
then.
gonna accuse me
Making
of
it
being
the
the
next
witness.
version of
Not gonna accuse
Showtime.
me of
Magic,
being
to
the
that you say what?
Well, the style is the same. You're right. The style. But it's nothing going to be like LeBron taking it coast to coast. And we've seen that in exhibition games. I mean, man, and the plays.
Once again, Magic Johnson, master salesman. He knows how to keep his market focused on the task at hand, which is make sure that you pay attention to the now. Magic Johnson's attitude is, look, I was great. That was 30 years ago. Pay attention to now, because my future is at stake here. This has to work.
Listen.
Yeah, the buzz for preseason is unreal. In Vegas, I know.
Unreal.
Yeah, and the energy.
We had 2 exhibition games right across the street at Staples Center. The fans were there before the game started.
Of course they were.
Normally, first quarter.
Yeah.
But they were in their seats before the game even started. That tells you
Let me ask
the
one-
effect of
I
LeBron James.
know we gotta go, but last time I checked, y'all had to slow it down and throw it into the Kareem too.
Yes,
We're gonna
sir.
dismiss him.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Magic.
The
He kind of
most
agreed
dominant
with me.
scorer ever.
Look
How
at
about that?
One other thing.
Well, no, Kareem was not the most dominant scorer ever. Kareem was the most prolific scorer ever. The most dominant scorer ever is Wilt Chamberlain. The greatest scorer ever is Michael Jordan. Kareem is the most prolific scorer ever, meaning what? He's just happened to have scored the most points. Well, the most dominant scorer ever was Wilt Chamberlain. Why is that? Because of his bevy of 50-plus point games. The greatest scorer ever is who? Michael Jordan, because he consistently scored the most per game over a long period of time.
Other thing I want to get into, though, because obviously what makes it exciting, not just the Lakers being good, the Celtics are good, too.
Oh,
Stephen
yeah.
A. has them as a lock going to the finals. Most people do. Max says it's 50-50 with Toronto. I mean, we've seen them one game in, right, each team. But what do you think about the East right now, those two teams specifically? Are they neck and neck?
I just saw the Boston Celtics versus Toronto Raptors game. Of course, it's only the second game of the season, but it's very tight between those two teams. Toronto was able to win a home game against the Boston Celtics. Now, on the Boston Celtics side, they're still trying to get Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward fully back and, of course, implement their overall team strategy with those two very good to great players being re-implemented. And on the side of Toronto, you have the great Kawhi Leonard trying to integrate himself into that system. So I mean, I look at that game 2 of the regular season, as more of just a filling out game. We're not really going to be able to discern who the better team is between those two teams until the playoffs. I think it's that close.
No.
Okay.
No. Boston Celtics is a step above everybody. And I tell you, because they can go 10 deep. Mm-hmm. See, watch out for the bench. It's not about, to me, the starters, because we are...
Well, you know what? Toronto can go pretty deep also. Now, with a Kawhi Leonard, they have the best overall player between those two teams. It's close between Kawhi and Kyrie, but Kawhi is the better overall player. Kyrie's better on offense, but Kawhi is better overall, and it's pretty discernible. Because I will put Kyrie probably just outside the top 10 best players in the NBA. If Kawhi gets back to where he was, and in the first 2 games he's done a good job scoring, but he has not been very proficient. If he can get to where he was with the Spurs, shooting about 50% from the field, he automatically becomes, just because of his level of defense, one of the top 5 players in the NBA. No doubt about it.
We already know Kyrie's great. We know what Hayward could do. Horford, who was a great leader. But I tell you what, when you got that bench that Boston has, because a lot of those guys can start for other NBA.
You don't like Toronto?
I agree with that.
Toronto's bench, Magic? That's 10 deep. That's Masai Ujiri like in Denver, 10 deep.
I love it. But I don't think that they're as good as the Celtics. And we have to remember something. When both of those guys went down, that gave all Rozier and all those guys a chance to play and really develop.
And that
See, this is why Magic Johnson gets in so much trouble. He just can't stop himself from talking about other teams, their chances, and other players. And he pretty much gets a pass from many of the upper-level front office members across the NBA because they know this is just Magic. Magic is like your uncle at the barbecue. He gets a couple of beers in him, and he just starts talking and rambling. Magic forgets where he's at. Like, he starts talking about other teams and their chances and other players and how good they are. And as somebody who's in the Lakers front office, he should not allow himself to get caught up in that.
Confidence now moving forward.
And that rookie who is now in his second year at forward.
Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum's good, but I think that they're giving him a little bit too much praise right now. Of course, his ceiling is very, very high, but I'm not even quite sure if he's going to be their go-to guy by the end of the season. I still think Kyrie's going to be that guy.
Oh, man.
He's great one-on-one, though. One-on-one, he's a great player.
Man, his game, he'll probably be an all-star this year.
Boston better than the Warriors?
I wouldn't say they're better yet, but I say that they're right there.
Okay.
And I would say that if that was the finals, that would be a 7-game.
That would be a great series. That'll definitely be 6 or 7 games.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics would win because, again, we have to look at something, the bench. One thing about the Celtics, and like us, we really have one of the best benches in basketball, too. That bench is going to play a key role in the playoffs. And Boston is well coached. I think after Popovich, he might be the best coach.
Brad Stevens?
Yeah, Brad Stevens. He's
Well, what about your coach, Magic? Please remember, you work for the Lakers. What about your coach? Luke Walton's at home in his socks and his drawers saying, you know what, Magic, kiss my ass.
He can coach him. Danny Ainge, even though I hate to say this because I hate him because he's a Celtic, but no, he's done a tremendous job. I would say both of them. Toronto's headed in the right direction because they got a champ now. They got a champion, a guy
you
who
were the
understands.
GM around back then to rip off the Nets. If only you were around to rip off the Nets back then.
This has been great.
This is so much
Oh,
fun.
man.
Magic is not on the level of Danny Ainge when it comes to being a GM. Danny Ainge is on a whole other level. That's why I say watch for that Lakers-Celtics rivalry to rear its ugly head again when it comes to the Anthony Davis sweepstakes, even though I'm not quite sure how big of a sweepstakes it's going to be, because I think that the Pelicans are going to throw a monkey wrench into the plans of both teams because they may be much better than any one of us may have thought.
Oh, man.
Always good to talk
I told
to you.
him, I said,
He's
I'm
so
waiting.
grateful
I'm
to you.
waiting. I said, I'm not going to do an interview because this is my man right here. I love this guy. That's my guy right there.
Same here, baby.
Good
You know I love
people.
you.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
so
Magic,
much.
appreciate you.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck the whole
Thank you.
season. Not that you need
Hey, man,
it.
I'm looking for you in boxing.
Coming up next, another champions in the building. Don't think it's just all about the...
Look at Doc Rivers walking in like he got to take a shit. Magic, get out the chair. I got to do this interview so I can go take a shit.
The Lakers in LA. It's Clippers too. Speaking of the Celtics,
I'm good.
Doc Rivers in the house.
I would lose better.
You know, he lost the voice
Just
already.
from last night. Just from last night.
How are you?
Doc Rivers has not spoken clearly in 25 years. But anyway, peace.